The Atlanta Braves dropped 2 out of 3 to the New York Yankees over the weekend, but showed a lot of positive signs for 2026. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Monday, July 21st. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. Did a deep dive this morning on the newsletter about Michael Harris and Ozzy Albies, the changes they have made, whether or not I think they're sustainable. We're not really going to have time to get into it on today's show, so go check that out again. bravestoday.com, free or paid. Those subscriptions help out the show a ton. All right, I want to get to all of Atlanta's first 10 round draft picks have signed. We're going to get to that. I want to get to the series as a whole, the bullpen disaster on Saturday, and why you shouldn't freak out about it. But first, we've got to talk about the biggest news from the weekend being the changing of the guard at designated hitter. So we saw this in a couple games before the All-Star break. In the St. Louis series, 2 of the 3 starts at DH went to Sean Murphy, right? So he ended up playing offensively in all 3 games. Drake Baldwin got 2 starts behind the plate. So together they had 5 starts in 6 total opportunities. Marcel Ozuna played the middle game, and that was it. And then this weekend, coming out of the All-Star break, they continued that trend. Drake Baldwin started the opener and the finale behind the plate. Sean Murphy started game 2 behind the plate, and Murphy was the DH in game 1, and then got a pinch hit opportunity in game 3. Marcel Ozuna came back and was the DH in game 3. And Snit talked about this over the weekend. So on Friday, after the game, Snit talked to the media and explained that he addressed the team before Friday's game. And one of the things that he said was he was going to make lineup decisions that gave the team the best chance to win that day. And he did not pull Marcel Ozuna aside to break that down, like to explain what that meant for Ozuna. And Snit's words on that were, quote, "I didn't have to. I talked to the team, and it's pretty much put out there what my feelings were for going forward. Ozuna's great. He's been through all this, and he's not going to not play. I'm going to pick my spots. But the other 2 guys are doing so good, I can't not play them." And that's exactly what Atlanta did here. When you look at the way they set the weekend up, you had 1 start for Marcel Ozuna on Sunday. Now, he goes 0 for 4. But Snit talked after the game about the strategy there. Quote, "If Ozuna's going to be here, he's going to play every now and then. He had seen Stroman, Murphy hadn't. He had a homer off Stroman, and obviously not on Sunday, but in his past, in their matchups. It's just like the other day when I played him against Eric Fetty in St. Louis. He had 2 homers against him, and he hit another one. If he's going to be here, he's not going to rot." And I want Brian Snitker haters to gird their loins, because here we go. I love the way that he's handling this. You've got like 10 days before the trade deadline, okay? Marcel Ozuna does not have a ton of value. You will get something for him, but it will be a speculative, we are hoping that he can figure it back out and can help us down the stretch, right? So playing the guys that give you the best chance to win, which also happen to be the best chance to get you a compensatory draft pick after the first round, if Drake Baldwin can win Rookie of the Year, because Baldwin played all 3 games. He started 2 and he DH'd the other. Murphy's the one that lost a start to Ozuna. And giving Ozuna an opportunity to play against guys he has done well against in the past is the right way to handle this. Ideally, you're playing him once a series for a dude that he's seen before, he's tagged him, and he can maybe turn around and do it again. And you heard Snit discuss that. They put him out there against St. Louis and against Eric Fetty. Top of the second against Eric Fetty, he hits a home run, right, to open the second. To open the fourth inning, he singles off of Eric Fetty. He gets 2 hits off of a good matchup and a guy he's been good against in the past. I love the way that Snit's handling. This is the right way to do this. Because the goal here should be to get Drake Baldwin Rookie of the Year. And he needs as many at-bats as he can realistically handle while still performing if you want to do that. And guess what? He went 4 for 12 with a double, an RBI, a walk, and 2 strikeouts, and 2 runs scored this weekend. Like, he's still performing. He's still doing it. He's hitting 282 with an 828 OPS right now. So Atlanta, Brian Snitker specifically, is handling this the right way by finding the best opportunities to get Marcel Ozuna limited playtime where he can hopefully, if he holds up his end of the bargain, increase his trade value a little bit before the deadline while getting Drake Baldwin in the lineup on an almost everyday basis. Now, I don't know if Baldwin's going to play all 3 games against the Giants, right? It's the middle of the summer. He may get one of these games off. But if he plays 2 of these 3 games, that's 5 starts in 6 games. That is what you need to do. It's not reasonable to think a catcher would play every single day. But if he gets 5 starts in every 6 games, that is the correct move to try to get him an award and get your team an extra first-round draft pick in a year where you will have a very large bonus pool for the first time in a while because you are probably picking inside the top 10. You are probably a lottery team. So this was handled correctly by Snit. He's doing very well with this. And again, in 10 days, Marcel Ozuna's probably not here. I don't know how much you get for him. Again, I don't really think you get a lot. And there have been folks, somebody was saying on social media that like Boston's a great team to send Ozuna to. The thing you have to understand here is he's not a guy you're going to play every single day. He's at this point in his career, at this point in his season, he's not. You're going to get, at best, some sort of lottery ticket speculative pick. You're not getting a top prospect for Marcel Ozuna. He does not add any defensive value. He does not add base running value, and he's not performing very well right now. Literally, the most valuable asset in moving Marcel Ozuna is unlocking that playtime. That is the best possible outcome to moving Marcel Ozuna is unlocking that playtime. So I am excited to see how the Braves handle this in this next series against the Giants, because again, the goal here, Snit's doing everything right with this. He's saying the right things. He's also doing the right things. And again, I know that Brian Snitker haters are going to not love this a whole lot, but there you go. The thing about Marcel Ozuna we have to understand here too is he has 10-5 rights. He spent 10 years in the league. He spent the last 5 years with the Atlanta Braves. Any player who has done those 2 things automatically has, by the CBA, the ability to block any trade. Now, the media asked Ozuna about that. I think it was on Sunday, going off the quotes in the game stories. Quote, "I don't worry about that. My agent and the GM have that decision." So I feel like they're going to accept a deal if it unlocks him more than one start every 3 games. And again, if we take Snit at his word, which we have no reason not to, he may not have a good matchup in any of those 3 games. And he may not play at all. Like, again, they don't want him to rot, but they're trying to find the best opportunities for him to do stuff. Now, to his credit, Ozuna says the hip's not a problem. Quote, "It was my hip earlier in the season, but now I feel fantastic. I feel amazing with my body. I just lost my confidence at the plate and I lost my timing." And obviously, not playing every day is not going to help with that. If you remember back to 2023, where he was terrible the first month of the season, Snit continued to run him out there every day, and he figured it out. It is possible that he could figure it out here. The likelihood that he figures it out in Atlanta is not great, simply because he's probably not going to play every day. And maybe there's a team that sees these quotes. Maybe they have faith that, hey, we have the runway to, and the depth on our roster to let him play every day for 2 weeks and see if he can figure it out. But what's likely is he joins a team and he is a veteran pinch hitter. He's making starts occasionally at DH. We'll see what happens. Either way, again, you're going to get an asset for him. I just don't think you're going to get a very good one. But the biggest deal is just get the play time. Get the playing time freed up so you can put Baldwin and Murphy in there most of the time. I do have to warn you, you're going to have games where the Braves don't want to play both catchers for 6 consecutive days. And so, like, Jurickson Profar gets to DH and Eli White plays right left field or something like that. But for the most part, get that. We'll figure it out later. In just a minute, let's talk about the weekend series. The bullpen was destroyed on Saturday. I'm not worried about it. I'll explain that next, right here on Braves Today. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. Let's talk about Saturday's game. 12-9 victory by the Yankees. And honestly, this was ugly. The Braves were up 5-0 after 4. They were up 7-2 after 5 innings. Joey Wentz went 4 scoreless. And some people were mad that he got pulled from the game. That was both a season high in innings and in pitches. He's still stretching out. He probably, had you left him back out there for the 5th, he probably gives up runs just like the bullpen did behind him. And 2 things happen here. The bullpen was a disaster. Just about everybody got hit around. The only guy that didn't technically give up runs was Rafael Montero, and that's because he just allowed all of Enyel De Los Santos' base runners to score. And then there was some awkwardness and some really kind of terrible accusations between the Braves and the Yankees about Eddie Perez. So the Yankees looked like they were either stealing signs or they picked up on the Braves tipping pitches. And there was a moment Jazz Chisholm was at second base. I think it was the 6th inning. So Anthony Volpe's up to bat. He hits a sac fly to Michael Harris, which scores Giancarlo Stanton. Jazz Chisholm moves to third. And then there's a mound visit. And Eddie Perez and Jazz Chisholm are jawing at each other, right? Bench coach Eddie Perez. And what happened was the Yankees were very clearly either stealing signs or picked up on tipping from the pitcher, which is perfectly legal the way they did it. You can steal signs. That is legal. You can pick up on tipping pitches and signal to the hitter from the field or the coaching boxes, right? If you are the third base coach, if you are the runner at second base, and you pick up on what the pitcher's doing, you are allowed to signal to the hitter. That is legal. What you can't do is figure it out off the field and signal onto the field or use technology. So like the Astros, what the Astros did back in 2017 that was illegal was they used a computer algorithm to figure it out, And then from off the field, in this case, banging a trash can, they signaled the hitter on the field. That is illegal. But a runner at second base is allowed to steal signs. A runner at second base is allowed to look in the pitcher's glove and see the grip and signal it. And the Yankees do this. July 10th at Yankee Stadium, they were not very discreet with signaling to the hitters about what closer Andre Munoz of the Mariners was doing. Like they were not discreet at all. And again, that is legal. You are allowed to do that. He gave up 3 hits and a walk, 2 runs, blew a save. It went to 10, and the Yankees won in 10. The Yankees walked it off. The issue here is Eddie Perez was jawing at Jazz Chisholm and telling him to use your head. That is what Eddie Perez says he was doing. Eddie Perez says he was telling Jazz, quote, "I was just saying be smart. I like that guy. He's one of my favorites," and he got mad about it. I don't know why he got mad about it. So I was like, take it easy. And he started doing some stuff. Eddie Perez said he was just telling him to be smart, use your head. Jazz Chisholm interpreted that as, we are going to throw at your head. He got hot. He went to the dugout. He complained to Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone made it a thing. The broadcast, the Yankees, I went back and pulled the broadcast for the Yankees. They immediately, as soon as they saw Perez point to his head, they immediately said, he's threatening, we're going to hit you, we're going to bean you. That's a paraphrase. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but I went back and watched. The broadcast was saying the same thing. Aaron Boone said that Major League Baseball should investigate it. He said on Saturday and on Sunday, he had not spoken to Eddie Perez. He had not spoken to Brian Snitker. It's a little bit irresponsible, I think, to come out and say, hey, like, they're talking about hitting him in the head. You never actually asked them what they did. Like, have professional courtesy here. But just to clarify, the Yankees did not do anything illegal. The Braves are not a team that is prone to retaliate. They are not a team that proactively hits your players. They are not a team that does, they have guys that do antics, right? Other teams hate the Ronald Euro step at third and all of that. Like, this really should not be a story. The Yankees made it a story. The Braves did nothing wrong. Okay? Just up front. The Braves, if Eddie Perez is to be believed, and we have no reason to think he's not, if he is to be believed, the Braves did nothing wrong. And hopefully, if the league office actually investigates, they determine the same thing. But I mentioned not being worried about the way that this game was lost. Kind of burying the lead here. This big bullpen blow up. And it was a blow up. Everybody. Wander Suero gives up 2 runs. De Los Santos is charged for 4 runs, 3 earned. Does not record an out. Pierce Johnson gives up a solo shot. Who was his solo shot to? His was Cody Bellinger. Anthony Volpe gets his second homer of the game. He gets it off of Dylan Lee in the 8th. And then Raisel Iglesias the grand slam in the 9th. Here's the thing. Outside of Dylan Lee and maybe Pierce Johnson, most of these guys are probably not part of your next competitive, of your bullpen, major parts of your bullpen next year. Wander Suero's probably not there. Raisel Iglesias definitely is not there. Rafael Montero is not there. Enyo de los Santos' stuff is fine. In a better version of the Braves bullpen, he's a 6th inning guy, right? He's a long man. He's not pitching competitive innings. He's not pitching high leverage innings, right? Dylan Lee's the only one that you're probably going to be counting on next year to give you legitimate innings and high leverage innings. And if you look at that situation, one, it was a solo shot. It was a 2-2 slider that caught too much of the plate. All 3 of his strikes were in that same attack zone 8 down there, right? He goes changeup off the plate for a ball, fastball down for a strike, slider below the zone for a ball, slider right there that's fouled off, and then he goes back to the exact same spot with another slider, and it's hit for a homer. I don't know if he missed his. I haven't gone back and watched the video. I don't know if he missed his location. I don't know if Sean Murphy thought doubling up would be a good thing, that maybe Volpe would not be expecting them to go back to the slider, the same thing. And a lot of that game, it felt like Sean Murphy was being a little too cute behind the plate with some of his game calling. Neither here nor there. Not really critiquing Murphy that much. He's been great this year. I just felt like that game specifically, he was a little too cute with trying to go back to stuff. But outside of that, most of these guys are probably not part of your next bullpen. Pierce Johnson's the big question. Supposedly, the Braves would be open to listening on Pierce Johnson. I would not be opposed to listening on Pierce Johnson. His guaranteed money's up after this year. He has a $7 million club option for next year, so he is more valuable, I would argue, than Iglesias is, than Montero is, because he has additional control. Those guys always get a little bit more at the deadline. And assuming you're going to spend money on the bullpen this offseason, which isn't a guarantee, but I feel like they freed up enough money where they should. Assuming you're going to spend money on the bullpen, then $7 million to Pierce Johnson, you can replace his production at probably less than $7 million. They haven't been inclined to use him in high leverage situations. The times they have, we played the Giants in San Francisco. He blew 2 saves. He blew 2 saves. He's not been bad this year, 2.78 ERA, but he's not been, I'd argue he hasn't been $7 million great. And then I've already talked about this, but I do think Aaron Bummer, whose contract escalates to $9.5 million next year, I think they should listen on him. But honestly, you look at the guys who pitched in this thing here. Again, Suero, probably gone. De Los Santos, probably a lower leverage role. Right? If you didn't lose all those relievers from last year, if Minter's still here, if Jimenez is still here, De Los Santos is probably your last man in the pen, right? Montero, gone. Pierce Johnson, maybe gone. Dylan Lee is back in a big part of your pen, probably a setup role. Raisel Iglesias, gone. I'm not as concerned with them blowing this as a lot of people were. Is it frustrating? Of course it is. Hell yeah, it's frustrating. But I'm not worried about the fact that they blew this game, simply because, one, the offense looked really good. We have to be honest there. The offense looked good. Michael Harris, Ozzy Albies. Again, I wrote about Harris and Albies over on bravestoday.com this morning. I technically wrote it Sunday morning before we left town for the day, but there you go. So, not super worried about that. In just a second, let's talk about the draft picks, because we saw all of the top 10 rounds, all of those guys have signed. And we learned a little bit about what Atlanta was able to do with those signings. We'll talk about that next, right here on Braves Today. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. Sorry, I was drinking coffee during the break there. Okay, so the Braves have signed every pick from the first 10 rounds. 11 total picks. You'll remember they got a compensatory pick in the 4th round for Max Fried leaving in free agency. So the things that we have learned here is, I think there's a couple things. One, the Braves continue to be very aggressive with that contingency bonus, and I'll explain that. And then 2, from a value perspective, Atlanta came out of this with 4 top 100 talents, 2 top 50 guys, despite having only 3 picks in the top 100 and only 1 in the top 50. So let's break this down. First thing is the contingency bonus, okay? Your 9th and 10th rounders, Logan Braunschweig from UAB and Cade Woods from LSU, signed for $2,500. A lot of seniors don't get a lot. Carter Lovaz from William & Mary in the 8th signed for $7,500, okay? The thing to know about the way this works, it's a little bit in the weeds, I'll do my best to keep this kind of simple, is in the CBA, MLB has a thing in there that says when you sign your contract after being drafted, you have earned a $2,500 bonus. I believe it's called a contingency bonus. And the Braves, almost more so than any other team, are very aggressive about technically lowering the amount of the signing bonus they gave you by $2,500 because of that. Because that amount does not count against your bonus pool. Okay, the team still pays it, but it's a weird accounting trick. So like Cody Miller in the third round, slot value was $796,000. He got, or he's going to get, you don't actually get the money, right, all the money right away. He's going to get $300,000. That's what he agreed to. That's what he signed for. The bonus pool reporting amount, the reported signing bonus to MLB is $297,500. Atlanta saved $2,500. Dixon Williams, that compensatory pick value was $539,700. He agreed to a $500,000 bonus. You saved almost $40,000 there. But it was reported at $497,500. Atlanta subtracted that $2,500. You do that for all 10 players, you save $25,000. You do that for all 50, you save $50,000. Which, I mean, there are players, you have 3 players who signed for less than $50,000. You're allowed to go over your bonus pool by 5%. And Atlanta's really good about getting as close to that 5% as they can. And that contingency bonus is part of the reason why. So when you see these numbers be weird amounts, like Landon Beetlejuice in the 6th round, the lefty out of Arkansas that I was talking about wanting after day one, he signed for $297,500. He's going to get $300,000. But Atlanta shaved a little bit off to save a little bit of money. It's a very smart thing to do. Okay. The best MLB, some teams just, if you agree to $500,000, they report $500,000 and they give you an extra $2,500. The Braves are very aggressive at, you're going to get what you agreed to, but we're going to use an accounting trick and save a little bit of money in the pool so we can give it to somebody else later. And the Braves were very aggressive with the overslot bonuses here. So again, I said they had 3 picks in the top 100. Pick 22, pick 60, pick 96. We got values on a lot of these signings. Okay? And if you use bonus amounts as a proxy for quality, which is not an exact science, that's not exactly how it works, but trying to figure out something there. Briggs McKenzie, the prep lefty you took in the 4th round, the slot value's $588,900. He signed for $3 million. He got the biggest signing bonus of Atlanta's class. That's the biggest signing bonus anybody got for Atlanta. Because Tate Southesine in the 1st, that pick value was just under $4 million. He signed for 2.6. So Briggs McKenzie, they took him at pick 127. That bonus amount was equal to the 32nd pick in the draft. Okay. Connor Essenberg, pick 157, the prep outfielder. He signed for $1.2 million. That was the value of the 69th pick in the draft, despite being drafted at 157. It's a nice value for Atlanta to get a guy who would be, again, if you use bonus amount as a proxy for talent, to be the 69th best player in the draft to get him at 157. This works in the other way, right? Tate Southesine signed for $2.62 million, which, again, his slot value was $3.98. So he was priced as the 38th pick in the draft, 37th pick in the draft, despite them taking him at 22. But at the end of the day, what happened is if you go by these values, you had 4 players that were priced as top 100 talents and 2 players who were priced as top 50 talents, despite having 1 pick in the top 50 and 3 in the top 100. This is the complicated and confusing thing about the MLB draft is the overslotting, the underslotting, floating guys down the board, which is, you probably hear that a lot on the draft. To explain what that means, in essence, is we're going to pay you like you are a second round pick, but we're not going to take you until, in this case, Briggs McKenzie. We're going to pay you like a second round pick, but we're not going to take you until the fourth round. So when teams ask you how much it'll take for you to sign, for you to not go to LSU, give them that number. Give them that number of what we're going to pay you, because that'll make teams not draft you. And then we will give you that amount when we draft you. In complete honesty, the easiest way to handle this is to just say every single pick is a hard slot amount. This is the amount that position gets. So you don't have weird situations where the number 1 overall pick takes an underslot deal, the number 2 gets more than the number 1, and all of this stuff that just ends up getting confusing, right? But that's not, like, I am a pro player person. I am not pro management. So I'm not going to say do that. But if you want this to be as simple as possible, that's the best way to handle the draft. But negotiations between players and management is never simple. And the league likes, or I guess the Players Association likes, the current setup of the draft because players who have leverage are most effective, or most able to use their leverage in this current setup. Eli Willits is a prep shortstop. He could have gone to college. Cade Anderson was a draft eligible sophomore for LSU at pick number 3. The reason he hasn't signed yet is he can go to college. He can go back to college to LSU. He actually might get the highest bonus in the draft. His pick value is $9.5 million. Eli Willits got paid $8.2 at pick number 1, and Tyler Bremner by the Angels got $7.69 million at pick number 2, despite a value of pick number 2 of $10.25. Like, Cade Anderson might get the largest bonus in the draft. His slot value is $9.5 million, and he probably doesn't come cheap. He was a candidate for number 1 overall. He might actually take a full slot deal to sign, and in which case he would get the biggest bonus in the draft. But the point is, I kind of digressed there, and I apologize. If you're not a super draft person, I hope you're still here. The point of this is, Atlanta handled this draft really well from a maximizing their ability to get talent with their position on the board. And I'm really excited to see where these guys go. I'm really excited to see about the signing bonuses on the back half of the draft. The Braves didn't really, and I talked about this last week when I talked about my thoughts on the draft. It really felt like they got a higher number than they expected from either Briggs McKenzie or Connor Essenberg, probably McKenzie. And so they ran out of money. And I expected them to want to grab another prep late on the final day of the draft. Last year, they had 3 prep players on day 2. Came in good in the 12th round, signed for $161,000. Not really a big deal there. Owen Carey signed for a slot value of $150,000. But their 20th round pick, Eric Hartman, signed for $337,500. So, again, $340,000 minus $2,500, but they usually like to grab a prep or 2 late, and that's where the extra money goes. It just felt like they didn't have extra money this year. So, we'll be back tomorrow with more talking about this series against the Giants. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens here. Probables, Bryce Elder versus Hayden Birdsong tonight. Good luck, Atlanta. Davis Daniel versus Landon Rupp on Tuesday. And then Spencer Strider versus Justin Verlander on Wednesday. Verlander's not the same guy. Doesn't have a win this year. Didn't get a strikeout in his last start. But it's still Justin Verlander versus Spencer Strider. I'm really excited. It's a day game. I'm really excited to watch that one. Reminder, we usually don't drop a show when there's a day game, simply because our show would come out 15 minutes before the game would start. So probably no show on Wednesday, but we are back tomorrow, and then obviously we will have a live show on Friday. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.